Wrong. Hi, everyone. Of course, I start off with the wrong. No, too high. Still too high. Come on. Yeah, good enough. Great start, Rebecca. Hi, everyone. I am Rebecca from ChemKnits, and today we're gonna dye some yarn with food coloring, chat about the red number 3 food coloring ban that the FDA announced last week, and then what that means for my official recommendations of what is food safe and more. I have a few projects prepped. Mainly, we'll dye like a mini skein with just red number 3, so you can see that color. I'm going to set up, I think, something with Wilton's Violet in a big mason jar just for fun. Eventually, we're going to dip dye to break Wilton's Violet. But before I bring the hot plate over to my countertop, because once I have the hot plate out and it's hot, then I can't really move it away during the stream. We'll see if there's anything else that we may want to dye on the countertop first. Like I could do something with candy hearts. I do want to do a sock blend with candy hearts this year. And it's really fun because the little message transfers in addition to some of the color from the candy. But that's a project that is long to set up, and then you have to let it sit for a while. So that may not be what we want to spend our time with here today. So I am very open to suggestions. And I can go get other yarn to pre-soak once we get started. With the dyeing, I just have a little bit pre-soaked so far, but I figured you guys will help direct me where we want to go. You can see I have a big box of food coloring up there. So yeah, I'm very quiet. You know, it felt like that, and I don't know why. Let me experiment with something. Am I less quiet over here now? Without the face, when I come to the counter, is the audio better? Because if so, I can try to swap microphones for when I'm sitting down. Better? Because if so, I can try to swap. Let's see. Yes, I'm good there. Okay, let me try. It must be the angle that I have it, because I have the counter, I have that mic set up all the way. So let me see, I forget how the audio is on this other camera. Let me see what I can do. All right. Oh, that's really loud. That must be the new camera. Let me see and listen. All right. Oh, that's really loud. That must be the new camera. Okay. So I'll just need to remember. I'm going to need to go through and reset this. Let's see if this level is good. That must be the new camera. Okay. So I'll just need to remember. I'm going to need to go through. Nope, that's not good. Reset this. Let's see if this level. I feel like. Okay, testing again. Nope, that's not good. I feel like. Okay, testing again.
Oh my gosh. I can't I can't get it. I have to like sorry. Okay. Hopefully this is good. Let me add this. Oh no. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Okay. Star video. Let's move you back there. And we're going to move the audio. I want to turn off. Nope, that's a visual. Where is the... Okay, the audio there. And then over here. Oh, over here I already have the new audio. Let's see. I'm going to see what you guys think at home. The audio there. And then over here. Okay, it's better. Oh, over here I already have the new audio. Let's see. Yeah, so for whatever reason, it's the same webcam, but the audio on this one isn't as clear, which is why sometimes usually we'll use the other one. But I think I must have it angled slightly further away from where I am when I'm sitting down, and so it's like cutting out that audio. So thank you all for your patience. Oh, and thank you. So with my hair getting longer, I've been like, I get annoyed with it when I sleep, so I've been like twisting it around things as I sleep. And so, yeah, that's been working well. Okay. Other announcements. There's a Valentine's Day pre-order in the ChemKnits Creations Etsy shop. The episode, the dyeing video, and everything will come out on Valentine's Day itself. And yeah, there's a lot of different yarn bases. The yarn will come wrapped with a handmade Valentine from me and fun extras and all kinds of fun things. So I dropped the listing in the chat. And that's the main announcement. But, oh, I need to go. I was heating up a pot of water. And that lid was rattling. But, oh, and now is a good time to say that if trolls show up later, just ignore them. Okay. And all right, so let's just quickly talk before I go dye some yarn with red number 3 about the ban. So last week, the FDA banned the artificial food coloring red number 3 for use in food and drinks. And this is one of the few, there's really 6 main, but really 5 that were in use, artificial food coloring molecules that were approved for food that are in most food colorings. And with the removal of red number 3, that's going to limit the palette some. So here is a picture, and of course my mouse isn't showing up. Here we go. Here's a picture that I dyed this is color mixing with red number 3 up here. The other artificial red 40 is here, and you can see that you aren't going to get brights when you mix red and blue, unlike you do with the red 40 and blue, unlike you do with the red 3 and blue. And actually here shows it as well. With the red 3 that is this bright pink, you can get some really good bright purples. With the red 40, you get more like great Kool-Aid purples. And red 3 is the color that gives us the dramatic color breaking. Because of all the food coloring molecules, the red 3 strikes the fastest, blue the slowest, and it makes violet so unbelievably dramatic. And hey, here's the stream right now. So I just wanted to show those few pictures. But what does this really mean? what does this really mean in terms of dyeing yarn? I'm still going to be comfortable using Red 3 to dye yarn. However, since it is no longer considered food safe, I will be not recommending to use it with cooking equipment anymore because the FDA has said it's not food safe, and it doesn't really matter. A lot of people have been saying like, oh, well, the science this. The fact of the matter is that the only fact that matters is that it's no longer approved for use in food, and therefore for like I have an obligation to say it's not food safe, and so to not recommend using it with food equipment anymore. I'm still fuzzy. I look to be in focus, but it's possible that I was out of focus for a bit. This camera sometimes will have me go out of focus, especially if I go forward. So that is the first. So yeah, I'm not going to consider Red 3 to be food safe going forward. Obviously, you are welcome to make your own decisions with what your comfort levels are. I think that the FDA is giving companies until 2027 to reformulate, so it's not an immediate ban and recall to the best of my knowledge, but given that I have hundreds of videos talking about using it as a food safe dye and I no longer consider it food safe because it's not approved anymore, I'm going to start shifting how I use it. But I'm still planning on using what I have left. We're going to dye some yarn with Red 3s today, but I'm still comfortable using it because the concerns are with eating it, right? And so we're not going to be eating any of it. Will I still use it to dye yarn? Yes. And so I'm bummed about this ban for nostalgia reasons. I have a lot of Wilton's Violet because that's the color that really got me started, and I think I'm known for breaking that color. But once it's gone, I'm not gonna buy more, and that's because Red 3 and the fun of Red 3 was because it was a food coloring. But when it comes to, and food coloring, artificial food colorings are the same kind of molecule as acid dyes. So they will dye yarn just like acid dyes. The only difference was that rather than being selected for their textile dyeing properties, they were selected for like use in food. And given that those compounds aren't also in commercial acid dye lines, that means that there's better pigments available that are dedicated for dyeing fabrics. And so there are better pinks out there than Red 3. So I'm not going to go out of my way to get more of it in the future, which is sad because it's kind of the end of an era. Yep, the ChemKnits color. I don't eat my yarn. Yeah, so I mean, I'm not going through and throwing away everything from my kitchen, and honestly, all of my food coloring that I have in the house, I only use for dyeing yarn. So it's not making a huge deal for me in that kind of respect, but it means that I think that some companies are going to be pulling a lot of their food colorings, and I think this is going to make a lot bigger deal for bakers, specifically people who make birthday cakes and things like that, than it will for dyers. But anyway, let's go dye something.
Because since I'm talking about Red 3, so eventually we'll bring out the Wilton's Violet, but what I want to do first is with Colorite Base Pink. And I actually want to take So what's funny is when before the ban happened, I did order more just in case. But
I want to, oh, I didn't mean to take a video of this, but that's okay. And I'm just going to quickly get a picture of the ingredients. So the base pink, oh dear. Why am I not in focus? Base pink, red number 3. Yeah, the base pink color is only red number 3. And a bunch of other stuff, like a bunch of other food coloring, or not food coloring, but like there's glycerin and whatever other things. I need to make sure my monitor up so I can see you guys. Yeah, and I think that it's going to be important. Like, I would not judge anyone who still decides to use whatever food colorings they have as food colorings. It's everyone's personal choice. But again, I have an obligation, given that I film tutorials, I feel like also probably also a liability reason to say, hey, because red 3 is not approved for consumption anymore, I'm going to use it with dedicated dye equipment that is never used for the preparation of food. And so that is what I'm doing here today. Now, I want to warm up this glass jar, actually, before I put some hot water in it. And I'll talk about what we need to dye yarn with food coloring. You know what? I am also going to use gloves today. Mostly because I don't want pink hands. Okay, I've warmed up the jar a bit. I'm heating water in my kettle. I figure we'll add hot water into here so we can dye a mini skein of yarn. But to dye yarn with food coloring, you need to have your artificial food coloring, which the food safe pigments now are red 40, yellow 5, yellow 6, blue 1, blue 2, which is found a lot less common. And you'll need acid, which I normally will use vinegar. You can also use citric acid. You're going to need heat, so either hot water or steam from a steamer basket. And you'll need yarn that is protein-based, so wool, alpaca, silk, mohair. If it is mostly animal fiber, then you can dye it with acid dyes, and the umbrella of acid dyes includes food coloring. So that is that. And now with food colorings that are approved for use in food, those I'm comfortable using in cooking pots and pans and things, even though sometimes I would still wear gloves because I don't like staining my skin. But for this particular project, you know, since red 3 is no longer food safe, dedicated dye equipment, which honestly I like using better anyway because I have it. But, and the reason why, as I'm waiting for my water to heat up, I guess it's hot enough. I don't need it to be boiling. Want to film this. There we go. And the reason why dye yarn with food coloring to begin with, why that's something that happens, is that's how I got started. When I got started dyeing yarn, and let's see how many drops
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 drops of base pink. This is a lot of the color. I've seen a lot of articles calling red 3 like cherry red color, but for me it's almost like a neon pink. And I suppose right here it looks cherry red, but if we start to add yarn, you'll see just how pink it is. Very, very pink. Now I have not yet added any acid here, and this yarn is a Crazy 8DK mini skein that is 100% superwash merino wool. And I was a little curious how quickly it might strike in warm water, but it did not strike that fast. Let's add some acid. I'm going to add about half of a tablespoon of white vinegar and stir things up, and we'll set this aside and check on it later. But you can see the very bright pink that we got from this color. And I've probably tangled that mini skein. But that's why it's a shame that this color is not available anymore, is because there isn't a food coloring, a food safe, bright pink like this. So yeah, that's gonna make a change to what people see. Okay, this is not that warm. Oh man. Now, one other thing about red 3, and the point when I discovered that it made such a it struck to yarn so quickly was when I was pregnant with my first son. I was like, oh, I'll do like even though I called it a gender reveal at the time, even though that's less appropriate because it's really about the sex of the child, right? But so I was like, okay, I put yarn in some blue food coloring, yarn in some pink food coloring. I was like, okay, I'm gonna add acid to one, microwave them, and we'll see which one has the color stuck to it. And well, the color stuck to both. And so that was the first time I discovered that I did not really need acid for red 3 to bind to yarn. And so that was really fun. Oh, but yeah, it is a very, very pretty pink. Okay, I'm gonna set this aside. And I think we'll do something. I'm going to set you. I need to put water somewhere. I guess I'll have to say goodbye to that. I don't have another good spot for it. Because let's try to do something without a pot with Wilton's Violet. But again, I need to warm up the jar first before I add hot water. You always done it with smart hands? Yeah. Okay, so clearly here you can see I also have a sock blank. I have some Wool of the Andes worsted. We're going to use that to officially dip dye to break Wilton's Violet. For another broken violet colorway, I have some Stroll. And after I set this one up, we can chat about what else you want me to do. Because I have a sock blank, and yeah, we can make some choices there. Now, one other annoying thing is that I used to, when trying to dissolve Wilton's Violet food coloring, I would set up my kitchen as like a food kitchen first, dissolve it in a brand new cup. I want to clean that off actually. I would dissolve the food coloring in a brand new cup, Then I would dissolve the food coloring in a brand new cup. Then I would do, okay, that's not coming off. There we go. I would dissolve the food coloring in a brand new cup that was like, I mean, these are disposable drinking cups, right? And then move it to the side and reset my kitchen into a dime kitchen and then proceed from there. And so now I have to use my dedicated dime measuring things. And I don't know if they're gonna fit in the jar. And so that will be something I'm gonna have to see how that works. And this jar may be empty or mostly empty. Now, a ratio of Wilton's icing color to yarn that I like is usually 1/2 teaspoon of dye per 100 grams of yarn. And where is the other little spoon that I have? So these 1/4 teaspoon spoons fit in these jars. Oh my gosh. Well, this one's about tapped. Okay, so I would say that this one is about 1/4 teaspoon and about it. Oh my gosh, this is getting so messy. Did not put that jar lid on very well at all. Also, the reason to wear gloves. Okay, now I gotta get this to dissolve, which hot tap water works well. These are not metal, or else I could use boiling water, but we're just gonna have to be patient and let it sit for a moment. Oh dear. Okay, it's going. Maybe I can close this one better. There we go. Oh dear. Okay. We've mostly got it dissolved. Okay. Let's see. Okay, that's mostly dissolved. And I want to make sure I'm still on camera for you guys. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Okay. Heat that water again. I'm going to add, I don't want to add too much. I'm going to add just under a tablespoon of white vinegar, which I was trying to do on camera and I didn't. So I'm going to fake it by adding some water. Because I'm filming this, because I'll probably do a short out of this later. Add hot water into the jar. Where did I put my other spoon? Oh, it's back there, darn. The violet food coloring. There's a little bit left in here. That is the downside of icing color. Now, I have found that on superwash yarn, if the things are too acidic, then we may start seeing
the colors not break entirely, because some of those blues will start striking. But even in here, you can see like a separation of the blue, and that I didn't know if this was going to work to do it in a jar. You can see it's getting bluer and bluer. Okay, this is actually coming out really, really pretty. Oh my goodness. The side view is so cool. I need to take a picture. But yeah, so you can dip dye, I guess, in a mason jar, which is pretty exciting. This is a 8-cup jar. And it's nice and hot, actually very hot, which is good. But that was just a very quick broken violet, which is funny because when I started off, I thought I was going to add the yarn and then move it, and we'd end up with like variegated broken patches. But this broke beautifully like a dip dye would, and so again, we'll do more official dip dyeing to break violet later on. That one I think is full. I have, see, I want to find the open ones first. Okay, this one is open. Oh, but that was so satisfying. Okay, so I'm going to come back down and we can talk other options. But I wanted to do some dyeing to start. Hello. Oh, yeah, I mean, having red 3 gave the most dramatic colors. And it's in, so in the Wilton Colorite food coloring system, which has 5 primaries in it. There's 8 colors in the system, and it's a system designed for color mixing. And so the 5 primaries are base pink, which is red 3, base blue, which is blue 1, base yellow and orange, one is yellow 5, one is yellow 6. I always forget which is which. And then base crimson, which is red 40. And then the 3 colors that are blends are base red, which has, gosh, I forget the combination of it, but I think it has 2 reds, maybe some yellow in it. There's base black and base brown, which I think both have a little bit of just about everything in them. And I do have an old video where I mixed each of those colors together at a 1-to-1 ratio to show that you can get like a really big range of colors on yarn with the Colorite system. And so that's what I used at the beginning to make the pink. And I think that that is quite possibly, I mean, it used to be what I would recommend that people get for food safe dyeing. But again, cost-wise, getting dedicated dye equipment and stuff could feel intimidating. I do have a blog post, tools and equipment, which is, oh my gosh, almost 6 years old now. Where I share like my dedicated dye equipment and the things I use. And really, you could get away with just a stainless steel pot with a steamer basket and a lid, and you can probably find something like that that would work at a thrift store. It might not be brand new. I mean, obviously it would not be brand new, so it might not be as shiny, but it would still work. Let's see. Oh, my respirator mask and stuff for using dye powders, some other tools that I use. Actually, these plastic spoons that I've been using all the time, those I got at a local Savers. And the measuring cups and spoons that I use, I got from Dollar Tree. years ago. That metal spoon that I was using today, also Dollar Tree. So it doesn't have to be expensive to get things set up. The shower curtain I use to protect my counter is a shower curtain from IKEA. Let's see if, oh no, that one doesn't exist anymore. But it's like at the time, maybe it's like a $2 shower curtain that I use repeatedly. And so that setup, once you do the setup, and if you're going to get, say, commercial acid dyes, ultimately the like cost per pigment is cheaper. Kool-Aid and things are a lot of fun, but like to get the amount of Kool-Aid that you need to dye one skein of yarn is a lot more expensive, if that makes sense. But I also know that the reason why some people want to dye yarn with food coloring is because they're intimidated by commercial dyes, which is fair. I was as well. If you start at the beginning of my Dye Pot Weekly series, you can watch me be nervous and figure it out. And so it's a good way to dabble and see if you like the project before investing in other tools and equipment. And again, for other people, comfort level wise, they may feel more comfortable using food coloring, and that's fine too. My kids, like as young as just shy of 2, they've dyed yarn with me. Yarn that I've used in scarves that I wear every day. Actually, that scarf here, the 2 yarns in it, one was dyed by Lucas, one was the one with more color. The one with lighter color was dyed by Ryder. I think I have a video like dyeing yarn with my 1-year-old because I think it was the week before he turned 2. I put it in like a dabber bottle and let him dab. And I would say the one thing about this is that they did use green and some Wilton's violet. And the red 3 from the violet has almost completely faded from the scarf. You can kind of see in some areas some pale blues, and that's where the violet used to be. Now this gets wet. I wear this all winter for many, many, many years. The red 3 is the most likely to fade, I think, of all the food colorings I've used. I have a hat that is older than this that I dyed with blues and yellows, and those colors are still very vibrant. So, and you can see the green is still very vibrant in here. Ryder's just really had almost no color. And so, yeah, I mean, this is so precious to me because my kids dyed it. And since it's like a loop, I can use it like over my head if I need to, over my face, and it's holy enough I can breathe through. And so it's great. And I love that my kids dyed the yarn. So there are reasons why people may want to. And yeah, but so now we need to think about what we want to do and what you want to see. Because the 2 big things I had planned. And so please let me know in the comments any yarn bases you would like to see. Because I have pre-soaked 2 skeins of wool of the Andes. I have hundreds of skeins of yarn, of bare yarn in this house that I can bring down to use. So some options. One option I considered, but I don't think I want to do, is to hand paint a design onto a blank. And mainly, I don't know what I would draw. And I think that it would be really fun to do on a very small area. And then I would start to feel overwhelmed. So another project that we might do is to use candy hearts on a sock blank, which is a lot of fun. And we could do that and let that sit before bringing over the hot plate to dip dye yarn. And so I guess maybe I'll set up a poll if I can remember where to find it. Okay. Candy hearts on a sock plank or bring out the hot plate to dip dye. Heart, candy hearts. Dip, hot plate time. Okay. I'll start a poll. So that way you guys can choose for me. The Candy Hearts project is one that I want to do at some point anyway, and I've done it in the past. And it's just cool because the color from the hearts transfers onto the yarn, and then we can leave no candy behind by like putting it all immersion with more yarn at the end. Have I dyed yarn with neon neps? Absolutely, River. I have dyed the yarn with neon neps. I have another video that will be coming out with that I have not yet edited, but my Halloween 2024 yarn, let me see. There we go. It probably won't be playing the sound, but here I am winding up some of the yarn I dyed with the neps, and I'll show the black light in a moment. There we go. That is the Neo yarn base from Wool to Dye For. And so, yeah, in my Halloween 2024 video, this was the main base that I used for that. Otherwise, I don't think that I've used it that often. So, but if you use food equipment solely for dyeing yarn, is that allowed? Dawn, can you clarify your question? Because if you use, I mean, if you have equipment that is solely for dyeing yarn, then that's dedicated dye equipment. Because I mean, these pots were, I bought these pots at Bed Bath & Beyond in the kitchen section, the dye pots that I use. And so, yeah. Let's see. If you use food equipment, how about a double dip, setting off the color to create a third color? Are any of the oranges made with the forbidden red? Oh gosh, probably. But for orange, so yellow 5 and yellow 6, and oh, I can figure this out. By looking at this. Okay, base yellow is yellow 5. So yellow 5 is yellow colored, yellow 6 is an orange. So certainly you can mix orange with red 3, but I think some orange food colorings may not have it. It depends. But oh, one thing that I was going to mention is that not all food colorings come with a label that says, that breaks down by color what is in each one. And possibly more of them do now, but some of the older like boxes of red, blue, yellow, and green that you would get from the grocery store, some of those would just say the ingredients in the entire package on the label. And so if the blue if you're looking at a blue and it is, those are bright blues. If the blue is more sort of like classic Crayola blue versus this more cyan, classic like Crayola blue like here or there versus this cyan, more neon blue, then it's going to have some reds in it. And I don't know for sure the proportions, because the other thing is that, for example, like McCormick's Blue, there is red food coloring in it. I don't know if it's red 3 or red 40. And if you are to go and Google and see the recipe as it is today, that doesn't mean that that's what's included in the food coloring that you have that's maybe 10 years old. Because food coloring formulas change, which I learned with black, Wilton's black icing color. The original one that I had contained blue 2 in it, and then they reformulated it, and then they reformulated it again. And so those all break slightly differently. I have a video on that. Let's see. Oh man, it's close. Okay, let's do the candy hearts. Let's do the candy hearts. And yeah, it'll be fun.
I do also have color mist sprays that I could bring out. Okay. You are still very warm. And checking in on this guy. The water is clearing, but there's still a lot of pink in the water. I think it was not very hot. Okay, I'm going to set these aside. Let's not drop anything. Okay, I need my ChemKnits plastic wrap. Because we're going to want to eventually roll up the blank to steam set it to set the color. So I mentioned that with food coloring, you need heat, you need acid, and so the heat can come from using warm water or a steamer basket, which is one of my favorite things to use. Let's see. Okay. Now, before I bring out the blank, let's take a look at the candy. So I'm hoping some of these have smiley faces on them, because that was what was really fun in the past. And I want to get a clip. We'll see what we're working with. I love that I'm wearing gloves for this, because like you definitely don't need to, and I'm not going to wear gloves. Like, I'll wear gloves dealing with when I'm going to deal with man, these ones aren't as fun. A lot are broken. You're so cool. But yeah, I'm less likely to stain my fingers. Okay, we have some, I'm hoping. And if I need to, we can see if we have more. We've got some more True Love. Hearts. And maybe I'll have one more bag. But I did look, and these do have red 3 in them. Okay, I think I have one more bag. Of course not. Of course not. Let's see. Here's a good one with a good smiley face, because that is going to be better, quote, better than any of the words. That one's a decent smiley face. Wicked cool. Do I have any other? See, that's not a good smiley face. That's a decent smiley face, but not a decent heart with the message. Okay. So let's see. I'm planning to do a short with this. Which is why I'm taking all of this footage and setting these aside where they are dry. Okay. I'm going to bring over our sock blank, and this is a Stroll double-stranded sock blank, and I'm keeping a little bit more water in it than I might normally. And that is because I'm going to want the candy to dissolve a bit. Oh, I'll move the DSLR. But yeah, it's like you never realize how many things have red 3 in it, which red 3 crocks and like crashes out of solution and is honestly a bit of a pain to work with. So it's just funny that it is in as much as it is, because for all it gives a beautiful picture color on yarn, it is a little bit of a pain. Okay. Now, rather than pre-soaking the blank, wait, I need to bring this up. Okay. Now, rather than pre-soaking the blank in water with vinegar, it was pre-soaked in just some plain tap water. And I'm spraying it now with vinegar. Gonna do some higher up. Now, is this the best way to do things? No. Is this probably more vinegar on here than we need? Yeah. But we're gonna have some fun. Ooh, this is a good smiley face too. How do I want to do this? Okay. I think the first thing I want to do is take this little smiley face and put it on the blank, like so. And I'll lift it in a moment. Well, let's grab, I don't want to use the white candy hearts. for some kind of pattern as much as I'm going for, I think, something a little bit random. But each one that I'm adding, as I add them, I am pressing them down so that way they start to dissolve onto the yarn a little bit. Okay. And I'm curious if already you can see, yep. I don't know if we'll get a smiley face on here, but already you can see it. And I'm curious if already you can see, yep. Yeah, so you don't, it's not the most extreme yet, but we see it. Okay, that is the one. And let's, okay, Rebecca, that is the one. And we'll go through and pat everything down again in a moment. The main thing I'm looking for are ones that don't have huge breaks in them. Now, in the past, I've also done this and then sprayed a color over the top, which I'm not going to do today. We're going to let this be a little bit more just pastel. That one was not a perfect one. We've got the two different brands. I'm trying to space out some of the different colors. But again, avoiding the white. There's not very many yellows. But yeah, this is just silly little fun. And so here's another one of the ones that I put down originally, and it's not done very much yet. Oh gosh, don't make me a liar. Oh, this will be really annoying. Oh no. Then I will feel so sad if this doesn't work how it used to. I don't remember how long I used to wait. And so I may regret that this is the way I've decided to do this project. Shoot. It's like the moments of doubt. Oh God. What would I do? I just wanted to get it on camera. That is not a good one, Rebecca. That's okay. Oh, I have regrets. Sorry, everyone, if this makes this extra boring. Let's see. Because, of course, I have this set up in a way that would be harder to move. Oh, right. I have some other, quote, good ones. Okay, let's zoom back in to our first smiley face. It's smeared, but there's a smiley face. Okay, let's do another one. Okay, let's wait 10 minutes. And I can add some more on. I forget what brand was the good one. There's a brand that gave very good results once. Okay, let's try peeking on another. Man, that one has done almost nothing. Okay, that one has transferred. Okay, that one's transferring some blue. That one is slowly starting to transfer some orange. Oh my gosh. We need you guys to dissolve. Yeah, this was the reason why I was unsure if I should do it. Oh man, because the red on the outside. Oh, that blue, see, that one's working. That one's working really well. We just need them to get water in. It's so funny. Okay, see, that orange is working. I think it's the sweetheart ones are working well, and the other ones are not. That one's starting to work. What about? Not really. Yeah, because the ones that are a little bit flatter. Man! I was like, maybe this will take like 30 minutes. Oh. See, that one's working so well, even though you can't see the smiley face very well. Okay, you know what? The pressing does help. Oh, wow. I am being very riveting television here. Okay, we're slowly. It's going to be very pastel. Okay. Press those. I'm going to come sit. Let's see. Maybe you should have wet them before using them. Yeah, I could have wet them first. But that's not what I did in the past. I probably should have watched the video of how I did this in the past first. Oh, that's what I really should have done. Oh my goodness. Oh, I can refill this. check. That's what I wanted to see. It just took a little time. Subtle, but we're getting there. See, that was the other thing when I was like, okay, I'm going to spray it down with the vinegar that'll add more liquid. I should have made sure there was even more liquid in here before I started. Yeah, I can see some. It is very pastel, but you know what? This is going to be a very pastel, speckly kind of yarn. Oh, man. Let's see. Can move my face down. Not that things are going to change a lot, but oh, man, it's just silly fun. Yeah, the Sweet Tart ones are definitely more pigmented. But yeah, I just grabbed the others on a whim when I was at the store. It is a lot of fun to do, and I guess that's the thing where if there really was no pigment, then I could have brought in the color mist spray and sprayed over the hearts where they would give like a little bit of a resist. But I wanted to take advantage of the color in the candy, and so we'll see. Amanda asked, could I hit it with another spray of water or vinegar? So if I were to do that right now, the problem is that the part of the candy hearts that would get wet is the top and not the bottom, where I want the color and the candy to dissolve a bit where it's placed. So, like, I could lift each one, spray, and lower it again, which maybe we'll do, or maybe we'll just let it be the pastel, not super pigmented thing that it's gonna be. But yes, oh, so the candy is not going to dissolve completely on this blank. Eventually, once I'm satisfied with the amount of pigment that they've left on the blank, I'm going to remove them. And then we can add all the extra candy and dissolve it onto some yarn, immersion style, which also creates things that are fun and beautiful, if I remember correctly. But yeah. Oh, Rick suggested putting a cutting board on them and weighing it. You know, I don't have a cutting board, but I do have something I can put on. Hopefully it's flat. And we're dry. So I'm not gonna like leave it on. Oops. But it allowed me to put more pressure on. And I can do that again in a couple minutes. But I'm going to want to lift up the one. See, that's one of the good ones. See, that's starting. It's starting. Oh, dear. Yeah, they're definitely all bringing it in, but I think using the pan to apply pressure is good. It's easier to apply this pressure. Well, yes, I could get some books, but it's less exciting to look at. Okay. I'm gonna sit back down. Because I think we're getting close to what I wanted. Haha! Hopefully my face isn't. Yeah, we're getting there. Oh no, this one moved.
yay. See, we're getting nice impressions now. Ooh, that's a good one. There we go. Okay. That pressing really, really makes a difference. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. I set one more timer for 10 minutes. I'm going to press again. I know I left that other camera up, but thankfully you can mostly see what I'm doing. The nice thing about this is that it's giving sustained pressure more without me having to press on each individually and try not to move them. Okay, I'll do this one more time in like 5 minutes. Actually, I should set the timer for 5 minutes, not 10. So that's what I'll do. I'm gonna let it sit for 5 minutes. Then I'm going to set the timer for 5 minutes. Hopefully that's not going to mess up the smiley face too much. 5 minutes, I'll do it all again. And then we will remove all the hearts and wrap this up, and we'll save all those candy hearts that are a little bit wet to use eventually in the steam pan on some yarn. Let's see. Lisa, the ingredients list show that the sweet tart conversation hearts contain malic acid. The Necco sweet ones don't have any acid ingredients. Yeah, there should. What's causing this color transfer at this stage is purely the liquid that is in the blank from pre-soaking it. I did spray the blank with vinegar, which should be enough acid for then, when we apply heat, for those colors to strike. Funny thing about a lot of my textbooks. A lot of my textbooks are actually in my husband's office because my husband's a professor, and so a lot of my cell bio thing, like he doesn't need bio and chemistry things super often, but having them as like a reference text to then just look something up to then know what to go and dive into literature for further has been helpful a handful of times. So I was like, yeah, you can bring those books, which of course now, because I got my PhD in 2011. So a lot of these texts, and I graduated college in 2006, so a lot of the textbooks are really old and out of date. But it's actually really interesting the direction that textbooks are going, because a lot of textbook companies are pushing faculty to not have a physical book, but instead to have like a subscription that the students need to sign up for to have access to a digital version of the book that then the professor can customize for the duration of the course. And there's something about this that is very cool in the sense that the professor could then take the chapters in the order that they're going to do the course. And so they can have some customization in that way. But the problem is that students get like pay like a textbook price for a subscription that lasts for like 1 year. And then you don't have it anymore after that. And so I don't like that. Because I loved either, the textbooks I didn't use, I resold to someone else. If you didn't have a physical book, you could go and the books that were used for classes, you couldn't take out of the library, but you could use them in the library if you didn't have the book. And so, yeah, my copy of Cell, yeah, or like Zoom doll chemistry. Zundal and Zundal, I think. Um, yeah, and so then some textbook company, they were pitching this to Keith, and I thought that, like, as an intellectual exercise, I was like, I think that this is really cool. And when I TA'd, um, I was a TA for an undergrad bio and chem class at Harvard, and the professors there made their own book, which was some primary literature, some things that they sort of brought together to really. It was for students who had almost no science in high school, so it's kids with no science background. And yeah, and they did that, and I found more and more classes that I was taking, they were doing things like that because, like, science was changing so fast that textbooks were becoming out of date really quickly. And so there's, like, pluses or minuses to some of these things, but having, like, access to, like, a good intro chem or organic chemistry text, like, those are good references. So anyway, and then they're fun for nostalgia reasons. Like, I have we have my grandfather's, his physics textbook, and his, I don't know if it was chemistry or biochem. This time I can change it. Oh no, I realized.
You guys probably gonna hear me when I didn't change it. I forgot I'm using 2 different audio sources. Sorry about that, everyone. Ooh. I love that I have my science PhD and I'm playing with candy and yellow. Oh man. But you know what? Oh no! Thankfully, I know exactly where it came from. And actually, you can see the ridges of the knit stitches in the candy. But I want to peek down, like, at this one. Oh yeah, we're good. We're good. Awesome. You could hear me well, even when I was up here? Great. Great. Yeah, this is about the level that we want. But I'm gonna wait 5 more minutes anyway. And then we'll remove all the candy, wrap it up, steam set it, and bring out the hot plate. So we can dip dye some yarn in Wilton's Violet.
There. But yeah, looking at my grandfather's, like, textbooks from the 50s. Oh man. Oh yeah, it's fun to, like, see. And so we actually have those on a shelf next to our PhD dissertations, which we have together because Keith and I were in different, like, divisions, but we were at the same graduate school, so that we lucked out there. We met in college, and then yeah, ended up thankfully picking the same one. Although Keith, at one point, I think Keith made his decision about where to go first. I ended up going to Harvard. I originally thought I was going to go to Yale because I really liked Yale when I visited it. Even though I have tons of family in Boston, so I did kind of want to stay in Boston. And then he told me that he thought he was going to go to Caltech. And I was like, well, because when I visited Harvard, I really loved it. And I was like, well, I think I'm still going to go to Harvard because I didn't love the California schools that I had visited as much. So, yeah. Wait, there's handheld mass specs now? Whoa. Oh. But yeah, so for college, we got to, as an undergrad, I got to use like the mass spec. We ran our own NMRs as part of class and all this stuff because it was like all the research there was done by undergrads. And so we got access to all this equipment that, yeah, as grad students, you could get access to the equipment, but not quite as easily. But oh man, when I used to be able to read an NMR, oh my gosh, my dissertation work, I worked on natural product biosynthesis. So basically, the way that different bacteria make antibiotics. And so the enzymes that they would use to make these really specific, unique chemical bonds that if you were going to try to replicate that synthetically would be really hard to do. So whenever I do natural dyeing and like I'm extracting colors from plants, it makes me kind of happy because a lot of the first enzyme paths and things that were discovered were based on making pigments that were colorful because it was really easy to identify a strain of bacteria that created something that had color because you could see it on the petri dish and select for that. And so to see if it was something interesting and unique in the chemistry. And so, yeah, that was really, really exciting. But then, gosh, I got sick, and I did not have to take a leave of absence. Thankfully, I had done well with my projects, and so I was able to write, instead of just like a shorter introduction for my dissertation, I wrote more of a review article, and was, because I was so close to finishing anyway, and I was able to then finish. But it changed the trajectory of what I was doing, and my goals and plans, because originally I wanted to be, say, a professor at like not like an R01 institution, but I wanted to teach, or even teach at like a private high school, um, or yeah, teach at like a liberal arts college or something, which would have required me to have a research program, which I didn't know if I wanted. I really wanted to teach. And so then when I got sick and like things changed, and then I'm like, I had started ChemKnits in grad school and it was my hobby. And yeah, it's sort of interesting that the way that things took. And so here I am able to teach and do things. It's just I now have like flexibility. And so based on like the spoons that I have for a given day, if you're aware of spoon theory for people that have like chronic conditions and things, I don't, ooh,
I don't have any pain. I don't have any pain, usually. Unless I injure myself again. But, yeah, sort of like the rest is history. All right. We've got that smiley face. And then what's left on the candy. Oh, and those knit stitches. Icky sticky. Okay, I'm gonna need a container. To put the icky sticky mess. Okay, I want to do one more area of close up. Here's another one with good, come on, good ridges. Come on. Focus on me, camera. Wow. Can really not focus. There we go. Okay. Oh my gosh, I love like like right here when you see that like bit of red. Okay, but let's continue pulling this off. Yeah, so I started ChemKnits on a ski weekend where I stayed home. I think I skied one day and then decided that I didn't want to ski anymore. I've only skied like 4 times in my life. And so I stayed home and I was looking for ear flap hat patterns because when we were in the UK visit over Christmas, visiting my husband's brother, I remember like we saw some and I was like, I can totally make one of those. Like, we don't need to buy one, I'll make you one. And so I was searching for ear flap hat knitting patterns and I was like, man, I really wish someone had a list. Check out that smiley face. I really wish that someone had like a list of these free patterns somewhere with descriptions so I could reference it. And so I started like a Word document or spreadsheet or something making this list. And then I was like, you know what? My friend has a blogger blog. I should make a blog and share this because then I can find this list again because it'll be on my blog. And yeah, the rest is history. And so I called it ChemKnits because I was a graduate student knitter. Oh, come on. Focus. Another little half smiley face. You can't make out the words, but like over here you can see some of those words on there. Okay, so now I need to turn on my seam basket. I need a piece of plastic. Yeah, and so then with the blog, I started treating it like my lab notebook. And so I was interested in learning new things to knit and make. And so I did a lot of that and I would write about it to keep track of my progress. So that way I could learn from my notes. It was mainly for me keeping track of things. And so I decided that I wanted to learn how and I'm gonna wrap this up. I decided that I wanted to learn how to do cables. So I got a book that was like an Afghan with a bunch of stitch patterns. And I started trying to make cables. And then at one point I was like, oh, this is going quickly. I want to do 30 squares instead of 20. So I bought a ton of this white fisherman's wool. Okay, I'm going to go steam set this for 30 minutes. I bought a ton of this white fisherman's wool. And then and then we'll bring out the hot plate. I bought a ton of white fisherman's wool. And then I had balls and balls of it left over. So I Googled how to dye yarn at home. I came across something with dyeing yarn with food coloring, dyeing yarn with Kool-Aid, and then I tried it. And so on my blog, I have the first yarn that I dyed as an adult. In 5th grade, my teacher let us take a day off of lessons to dye yarn, which was one of the coolest days in my life. And if I could find Mrs. Fox and tell her, look at me now. I wish I could. Okay. Now, I think before we dip dye into Wilton's Violet, I think that we're going to use up the rest of these candy hearts. Sort by color and dissolve the leftover hearts in hot water. You can extract the remaining dye to leave no dye behind. Yes, except we're going to do that, but we're going to do it on a hot plate. And we're going to get variegated yarn out of it. Ooh. So that is exactly what we're going to do. Now, the tablecloth I'm using here is one that is dedicated for my hot plate because there's a screw on the bottom that sometimes gets warm and melts part of the plastic. Okay, I'm heating up. I'm going to add some water because I've turned this on, but I'm heating up water to bring in, and we need to figure out what kind of yarn I want to dye here. I guess, oh dear. See, okay, because what I have downstairs, I could do 2 swish or 1 swish, 1 stroll. Or I could just do 1 skein, but I think I want to do 2. And I need to adjust where I've placed this so that way you guys can see better. It's not hot yet, thankfully. Let's see if that's a little better. That's way better. Okay. Because I still need it by the edge so I can see. But I've not pre-soaked the yarn yet. Okay, we're gonna go for swish. And I ordered new zip ties because the old, I just checked, the old link is a dud again. And yeah. And I think I'm at the point where enough zip ties are starting to break, and I had my first big oops. Like, I've had little bits of color transfer, but it usually wasn't enough to make a difference for the final colorway. It must have been like a speck of dye that was stuck somewhere on a zip tie, because all of a sudden I ended up with a color that like should not have been there. And actually, those are 2 Valentine's Day options, my oopses. Okay. One side is getting nice and warm. All right, let's do we're gonna have 2 skeins of yarn. I'm gonna bring over some hot water to help us out. Because it takes, so hot plates are really good at maintaining temperature, but they take a really long time to heat up. and I smell something which is making me not happy. Where are my tongs? Shoot. I swear I had them out today. Ah. I did not yet have them out. Okay, we're gonna need more water. I think that the hot plate was a little dusty. And so I think that the hot plate was a little bit dusty, and so therefore I'm smelling some of that because there's enough water in here that things aren't going to like do anything bad. But it's getting warm, and by getting warm, like I started with warm water, so. Okay. But the nice thing now is that I'm going to be able to, once we've added all the color or all the candy, we're going to be able to transfer this to the stove and bring out another pot so we can dip dye some with Wilton's Violet. And over here, once I have the candy in there, I can dissolve more of the violet food coloring to get ready to go for that project. So I'm going to wait for it to get a little bit steamy. And so we'll sit down.
Where I can keep an eye on things. Let's see. No. Oh, man. Yeah, and so then, let's see, ChemKnits history, because I was musing about the past. So started the blog, and then had all this leftover wool of the Andes and needed to dye it. And a lot of that yarn is in my 10-hour Afghan pattern that is really just a seed stitch pattern, but I timed how long it took to make. Because I think I saw a pattern for like a 5-hour crochet blanket or something, and I was like, I wonder if they timed how long it took. And so when I made my 10-hour Afghan, I kept like a timer, and so I timed exactly how long it took. Question. So should we be using gloves to wash yarn, seeing that it's not food safe and our skin absorbs chemicals? So I would say that, yes, you should wear gloves. And then I will say, I often choose not to wear gloves when I'm washing yarn. So when your skin is a really effective barrier for keeping things from getting into your body. Your skin is your first big defense. My steamer basket is bubbling. And so I personally usually don't wear gloves when I'm washing yarn, because at that point most of the dye is in the yarn, and very, very rarely do I stain my skin. But the reason why I personally sometimes will wear gloves is because I don't want to get stained hands, which I was so mad when I had the indigo vat oops and my hand turned like gray from it. But that was the surface layer of the skin was what dyed, and you shed your skin so quickly that the color didn't wash off. Eventually, like after a week or something, you know, like I had, I guess, new skin. So I would say if you're very concerned about anything, you should look for the SDS, the safety data sheet for the chemicals, and read that and decide how you want to proceed. And so I think, like, officially I'll probably say, yes, you should wear gloves, but I make the choice not to at times. Just like I've said now, okay, when using Red 3, since it's no longer food safe, I don't recommend using it with cooking pots and pans. And I'm choosing to wear gloves while using it mainly so it doesn't stain my skin, but I'm trying to treat it like I would a commercial dye because I feel an obligation to be responsible and show that. This candy here has red 3 in it, and I'm not touching it with gloves. So the reason to wear gloves for things is to prevent, like, I don't know. For me, I just want to avoid staining my skin. And so, which may not be the best or proper advice. But, you know, I try. The bigger safety concern for me with dyeing yarn is accidentally inhaling powders or getting something in your eye. Those are two things I'm much more concerned about. And so when I'm dyeing yarn with acid dyes, or if I'm doing things that involve a lot of where I worry about splash, I'll wear safety glasses, eye protection a lot, and then the respirator mask, and then the gloves, because then you don't, like when wearing gloves, then you don't go touch like the door handle or your face or things when you have gloves on, at least like in theory, and so that's just to protect you as well. Let's stand up.
And my steamer basket is really going. Okay. I'm going to reduce the heat. We're going to get some footage of candy hearts, yarn, to wet candy hearts. On that one, you can really see those knit stitches in it. That one is so cool. Okay. Now we're going to take these and add them in. Some of them you can almost add like at an angle so they go through a few layers. And I'll save around half of them so we can add some to the other side. We've got 16 minutes on the timer for the other thing. Let's try to wait about 10 minutes. And we'll see how long it takes for these to dissolve. Oh, I did not add acid yet. Shoot. One, two, three, four, and because I forgot, we're going to spray everything with a little bit of vinegar. Rebecca before. And now we kind of wait. Candy is so fun. Okay, and while that is going, we can start dissolving some violet. But for reference, if you're just tuning in, here is some yarn that I started dyeing with red 3 at the beginning of the stream. She is a bright, bright pink, and the dye bath is almost cleared. That was just 7 drops of the pink food coloring. That's just red number 3. And here, which is still warm, I have a jar with Stroll, and we used Wilton's Violet food coloring to break it. It is still warm. I don't want to remove it from the jar yet. And then we will dye some Wool of the Andes. We'll dip dye to break violet in that. Probably once I flip this yarn to add stuff to the other side. And the colors are going to spread a bit more than what we potentially saw before. Did this one also have a pink? Okay, it has two. So I'm seeing pink come up around the blue. Now, so the colors may spread. They will mostly stay put. I don't remember how long they took to dissolve, though, when I did this eons ago. All right, let's get some warm water. Okay, that is the new one. This is one that has plenty in it. So I'm going to want about 1 teaspoon of violet food coloring, which I'm going to have to do in 2 stages. And the reason why I'm using warm water here is that these gels are so thick that in warm water is the easiest way to get them to dissolve off the spoons. And my larger measuring spoons do not fit inside the icing container. And I know at this point I'm introducing some water into the jar probably, but that is what it is. I'm not going to worry about it too much. Okay, and so we've got the second one. Okay, approximately. It's funny how, oh goodness, because that other jar even has like a different kind of like pattern and design on it. So who knows what year is this one from? Does it have a date? It could have been from like 2017, which is really funny if you think about it. Wash my hands. I always used to like to wear gloves with icing colors. Not so much like old in the day, but I like to wear gloves with them because they just, the dye gets on the lids of the jars and that's so annoying. All right, let's see. It's been about 5 minutes. Yeah, and I might be able to show something interesting when we use the pot with the Wilton's Violet. Which sort of helps support the argument of like using dedicated dye equipment. So red 3 stains things pretty badly and will stick to things like the edge of the pot, and you can really see it, but sometimes it can be like a little hard to remove, and so then that sort of just works with the whole argument. Ooh, they're getting soft. Well, some of them are. So Rebecca, for reference, this was after 5 minutes. Some of them have dissolved, some of them have not. That is really funny because some of them have, and again, it could be the 2 different brands. Because some of them are kind of mush. And so the 2 different brands were absorbing to the blank at different rates too. So there's that. Okay, I need to think about made hats and mittens. Let's see.
2 cameras so I can watch. Oh, did I stop filming on the, yes, I did. Okay, I heard the camera click itself off. That's fine. Let's see. When I did the candy heart dyeing, you had almost a full case of them. So you would dissolve them in a large pot before adding the yarn. You got 4 lovely pastel skeins. Well, that's fun. Yeah, I mean, it's a fun way to use up expired candy, clearance candy. And honestly, if people are uncomfortable using up leftover food coloring, then dyeing yarn is a great way to use it. Because again, you're not eating your yarn. Yeah, so I don't know if this is accurate with the Red 3 ban, because this is just, what is this, just from Google? And it's the quote AI overview, so take that with a grain of salt. But it says that food manufacturers have until January 2027 to remove Red 3 from their products. So people may make different individual choices, but it's not being removed. And some brands may remove things from the shelves immediately. They may choose to do that. But since there wasn't an immediate recall, then you can take that with a grain of salt. Yeah, if there was like an immediate like, hey, recall this, don't use, but yeah, I haven't looked into the science for the reasons why it was banned. I know that Red 3 caused cancer in rats, and I don't know about the amount. And so this is the thing, and you know, and again, I'll say, for me, the fact that it's banned means that Red 3 is no longer food safe. Since it's not approved for consumption anymore, I will no longer be recommending it as a food safe dye for dyeing yarn. You can still dye yarn with it, just treat it like you would any other commercial non-food pigment. And so that's my official stance. With regard to the science behind it, you know, I haven't looked into that. I do know that there are things that, like, there are things where it's all about, like, the quantity or the dose. And so there are certain things that if you have a little bit of, you're fine. If you have too much of it, then that is dangerous. Like water, for one example. You can drink too much water. And I mean, it's a high number, but that can cause problems. So, which is obviously different from things being carcinogenic and whatever, but there's like dose issues. But again, I can't recommend people use something and treat something as food safe if it is not food safe anymore. And so that's where my opinion has to come from. But so it'll be like a transition, and it's, you know, for me, like, okay, my whole pile of food coloring, like I've removed, I never really used food coloring for personal use, like cooking very much, but all that food coloring I moved into like the ChemKnits stash, and I'm like, okay, well, we'll do that now. But I haven't gone through and thrown out sprinkles and other things because that's just the choice that I haven't made yet. And so I have a feeling that in the next couple of years, we're going to see a lot more vegetable. The red food coloring will be from vegetable dyes in a lot of things. And actually, and this was not planned. So I scheduled this video months ago. I have a video coming out on Tuesday, which is me dyeing with some drink mixes. And spoiler alert, the drink mixes, the red in them was vegetable color. And so, and they're like Starburst and Skittles. And so I was so excited about all these colors. And like the pink, I was like, why is this pink spreading? And I go and I check and I'm like, oh. Because you would think that Skittles would all have the artificial food coloring in it, and I didn't read the ingredients well enough. So I have a feeling that this is the direction that we're going to see for a lot of things moving forward. But it's funny that that video is coming out on Tuesday, and I'm going to need to actually add like a note that says that like Red 3 is now banned because yeah, I was like, oh, I need to do a note because at the time I filmed that last year. I scheduled that video to come out on Tuesday back in December. And so, yeah. But look at the colors. Like these there's a fair amount of food coloring in there. And honestly, like looking at the bright pink that 7 drops of food coloring creates on there makes you wonder, like, if you eat like icing that has like so much food coloring in it, like, does that just color your insides for a while? So otherwise, I would never dye yarn with Skittles because they probably have wax in them. And you can go back and watch me dye yarn with jelly beans and then be really, really frustrated because turns out there's wax in jelly beans and some other chewy candies, and they don't dissolve completely. And this wax melts and then solidifies on the cooled yarn. And I was like, wow, I think that this yarn is garbage. And then after the video, someone said, oh, I'll buy it. I don't know if it was like a live stream or what, but someone offered to buy it. And so I was like, okay. Someone didn't mind. But yeah, that was, so I will never use like Starburst or any other kind of chewy candy. There was one year that like the day after Halloween, I used like a bunch of Halloween candy to dye yarn, and it's just fun. But see, this is the thing where I'm like, okay, I'll take risks. And my reason for using food coloring less in videos is not because I no longer find it to be useful or helpful or anything like that. My reason for not using it more is really because of the limited color range, for one. I guess we have, I mean, there's more than 4, but there's now 4 pigments that are commonly found approved for food that work as acid dyes to dye yarn. And so there's a limit of what you can mix with that. And yeah, the lack of black and gray and a true brown were what really made me want to expand into commercial dyes to get access to those colors in the first place. But also, food coloring is wash fast. So you can wash something in the washing machine, dye with food coloring, that color will stay. Some food coloring pigments are not as light fast. So for example, like this used to have, I showed this before, this used to have purple in it, and those pinks are gone because I've worn this outside so much and wet. I found that food coloring while wet is even less light fast. Where's my other hat? Okay, but meanwhile, this is the first 100% wool yarn that I ever dyed with food coloring. And this is like, what, 15 years old? Now, the colors have faded, like if you check the inside versus the outside. But again, I wear this all the time, and there's still a lot of color in it. Now, this hat is not quite as old. This was dyed with commercial dyes. And I don't know if this is going to show up well, but the blues are brighter on the inside than the outside. So this has also had fading from regular use, and these are commercial acid dyes. So dyes can fade. But let's go to the yarn.
But I do think that food coloring is a really good entry level to see if you enjoy the hobby. Because I don't know about you guys, but okay, yeah, these are almost completely dissolved. There's some little bits that aren't. There's some that haven't. Yeah, there are some that are just like full on there. But actually, you see these pinks kind of coming up and going to the edge? Those are the red 3s that are a little bit more of a pain to deal with. But we are going to flip the yarn now because I'm feeling a little impatient. Even though it hasn't like dissolved all the way. Oh, it smells good though. It's very like unicorny. I did a yarn cake once where the yarn, I inserted the candy hearts into like a yarn cake. Oh, I put gloves on, but whatever. The gloves are mainly because it's sticky and I don't like the texture. But yeah, a lot of these things that you do or choose to do or not do, it's all going to be personal choice. Yeah, these are icky sticky. That's not where I wanted that. I wanted that to go down there. And I could flip the yarn one more time, but given the fact that we saw a lot of these colors really, that we see color on the other side of the yarn, I think we're going to get decent coverage. And so I am not worried about that. And one more green. But I think the two skeins are not going to be matched very well. Okay, and I'm going to come in now and tap everything in a bit so everything is underwater. I don't know if you can hear those satisfying little taps. All right, we're going to wait 5 minutes. And then we're going to transfer this. Oh, I didn't think about this too much. I should have reversed the hot plate, but oh well. Then I'll transfer this to the stove. And then bring over a dye bath so we can dip dye the yarn into Wilton's Violet.
Okay, but I'm going to go on a very quick break. I will be right back, so please stand by. Hee hee. Let's see. I'm back. You used to operate a drapery workroom in a tropical climate, and the blue fabrics would always be the worst for fading, sometimes in months. Yeah, I think I first noticed violet fading when I made a unicorn cake for Ryder, and this is the most food coloring I ever used on anything. But I'm really proud of it, but I would never do something like this again. Oh, wait. Oh, okay, well, that's a picture of it cut. Let's see if I can find. No, that's not gonna let me do that. Okay, I guess I'll do this. Okay. Here we go. This is the unicorn cake that I made for Ryder's birthday. I convinced him that I wanted to make a unicorn cake, and I don't remember if this is when I first did it, but I had some purple food coloring in the icing, and I had it set on a windowsill, and a bunch of the purples faded because I had it just like on a windowsill. Yeah. Because then, oh no, that's not where I had it. Where I just had, here we go. There's a picture of it cut. And so I forget how much food coloring I used. It was definitely color right food coloring, but yeah, not very many little, not very, I didn't need to use very much for each layer, but I think, was this around the time, like there was a cake show, there we go, that we used to watch, that was like amateur bakers, and they would have to make something and they'd try to like figure it out. I don't remember what it was, but like Lucas loved it and then thought I could make anything. And so for his 4th birthday, he wanted a PJ Masks cake. And so yeah, like sometimes I've done some decent homemade cakes. But making that unicorn cake made me realize that the red 3 faded. And so then I did, let's go over to the candy. Okay, good. The edges of the pan are not hot. So then I did a video with Broken Violet to test the fading. And I had it outside, one that was wet, one that wasn't, and the wet one did fade faster. So that was a very big learning experience. Okay. We are going to turn off these burners. I need to remember that that they're both hot. But we're going to take this to the stove, trying to not wiggle things too much, so I don't want the colors to spread. Okay, and I have the heat on low there. And I'm going to bring over pot to heat up, which is warm, but I'm going to want to bring that to a boil. I can turn off the steamer basket.
grab our sock blank. You can see a little bit of the color peeking through. It's too hot for me to unwrap it now, though. And I will say that the sock blank will probably make an appearance. It'll be in a short that I'll post on YouTube as well eventually. Oh, how are we going to do this? I guess I'll have to remember to shift the camera. Because the problem is if I use this burner and more in the middle, then I can't reach well. And I don't want it that close to my computer. So I know things are set up kind of weird. Nailed it. That was the show. Nailed it was the show, for sure. For sure. Now I want to find my PJ Masks cake photos. Wait, or was it Lucas's 5th birthday? PJ Masks cake. If oh my god, it found it. Oh my gosh. Okay. Hey, look, these are 3 cupcakes that I just crudely put frosting around to have the like little tower. And then he wanted the cake. He wanted all these like really elaborate, and I was like, I can't do that, right? And I made around the border like it's the night sky, and he was so happy. Oh man. I can't believe. It probably came up because that said PJ Masks when I Googled my photos to find it. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that I found it. Oh, that's so funny. So funny. Okay, wait, here's one more photo. But also, like, Lucas's birthday party that year was going to be at my in-laws' house. And so I'm like, what? I need to make a cake that I can transport. So I think I covered it in the blue icing and then did the rest of the decoration at their house. Like, the tower is wonky, but I totally nailed it. I had a happy kid, and that is what was important. Oh my gosh. Oh. But yeah, what did I do? Oh, actually, okay, wait. I'm going big. I gotta show you the birthday cake I made for Ryder this year. His birthday was just a couple weeks ago. Okay, so the request was he wanted cookies coming out of the cake, and he wanted a scoop of ice cream on it. So this is what I did. So it's a cake on top of a layer of cookies. Those were just like, you know, I bought the cookie dough and baked them. And then the cake was some like strawberry funfetti cake that didn't have real strawberries in the ingredients, but he picked it. So, gosh, that was probably full of red 3. And then for the scoop of ice cream, I made like a Rice Krispie treat, but I didn't have Rice Krispies, so I used Cheerios and made like basically a Rice Krispie treat ball. Covered it with chocolate frosting, and then put the edges down and used a very stale cone so it looked like there's a scoop of ice cream on the cake. And I'm very proud. It really did kind of look like ice cream. But yeah, Ryder was very happy. Oh man, I think another highlight is I did a Minecraft dirt block cake one year, which I baked the cake in like on like a cookie sheet thing, so it would be really thin, and then I cut squares and stacked them to make it as square as possible, and then also just iced the top. But yeah,
Oh gosh. And like I went through and like pictures were coming up from Ryder's first birthday party. And it's like the things I did before I started really using ChemKnits as my job versus as like a hobby that I made a little bit of income from. Because I went all out for both of my kids' first birthdays. But I made a rule that like I will go out and spend like, going like full Pinterest mode, right, for the first birthday parties and then not others because I didn't want to put pressure on myself to have to do that for every birthday. Um, okay, but now I need to find uh, ChemKnit. Let's see, ChemKnits dinosaur birthday. Oh, well, if I just go to images, then Google Images is going to help me. Okay, I can't find the blog post. Oh, but yeah, this can I get it big? Well, this is just the banner. I don't know when the party. But so this is what I did in my dining room. We covered a wall and a window with the streamers. And then I had like all dinosaur themed foods. I made paper mache around cans to make dinosaur footprints. Like, and this favorite movie happens to be Jurassic Park. And so that was like super, super fun. Oh no, this was Lucas's first birthday. Okay, where I made like rainbow origami fish. I made origami fish for like weeks. So, yeah. But again, first birthday party. I let myself do that for like the first one, and then like we still like decorate and stuff, but I don't spend all that time doing crafts. But yeah, it was fun. I was like, oh my gosh, but that was me, what, 8 years ago. And yeah, now, because when Ryder was about to turn 2, that's when I started making content more. And around when I did the Kickstarter. So when Ryder was starting preschool, because I knew that I could dedicate myself full time. And I was like, okay, I did a Kickstarter to do 1 video a week. But I realized 2 videos a week did a little bit better for YouTube. And so then that's why I settled on the 2 when I realized I could sustain that. And the reason why I'm still going to do long form videos because those are the best kinds of tutorials and things. And I enjoy doing that. But more short form content, YouTube shares to more people. And so then more people are finding the content, which are bringing more people who are interested in dyeing yarn to the channel. And so that's a big reason why I'm doing more short form things. And they're also really good for frequently asked questions and stuff. Oh, thank you. Um, Thank you for calling me an awesome mom. I mean, I'm really lucky and I have 2 awesome kids. Keith's been gone for work and I've been having, I'll be honest, I've been having a hard time recently. I'm missing my mom and all kinds of stuff. And the kids were like, last night I was like, guys, like I was frustrated or something. And I was like, I'm having a really hard time. And like Lucas comes up and is like, I love you, mom. And I'm very lucky. They're very awesome kids. Let's go check on this. Ooh, the yarn is yarning. We are hot, but I really want you to come to a boil. And how am I going to do this? Are we not making good contact? Oh, right. I was going to shift your camera. Maybe we just physically move it. Let's see what that did. That's better.
I always feel bad when it's not like perfectly centered on stream, but if I'm trying to dip dye and I had it over here centered, I'm not going to be able to reach really well. So that is the bummer. The bubbling is from the candy. That's who's bubbling on the stove. It's like we don't need a rolling boil, but I would like it warmer. Yeah. It's just a problem with the hot plate. It takes a long time to heat up. Okay, I'm going to set a timer for 10 minutes. And then we can go ahead and do it. Because we saw that without like it being really boiling, in just the jar that started with hot water, we got good, I have words. We got good coverage. Or good coverage. The color struck. And that was enough. So yeah, we'll either look for, it doesn't need boiling, but I'd like to see like steam and like condensation on the lid, and that moving would be great. So I love the electric hot plate. I really do. It just takes so long to heat up. And then it takes a long time to cool off. So there are those pluses and minuses there. Maybe at some point I should invest in like an induction cooktop I can move around. But yeah, because I love the gas stove and how quickly I can adjust the temperature, but we just don't have, if we're ever able to like convert the garage into a studio for me, that would be pretty cool. It would just we'd need some substantial renovation of it because our garage is way older than our house in terms of like structure. And if I'm filming in there, I need it to be like insulated. Like I wouldn't go out there right now. It's been 5 degrees this week. Oh man. My big mug is because Keith got it for me for like Hanukkah like 2 years ago or something. And I'm like, thanks. Because I think I had showed him like some of the giant mugs and like laughed about it, and then he got me one, and I was like, but I don't think I wanted one. But you know what these are really good for? Streaming days to have a big thing of Coke Zero. So it's good for something like that. They're also really good if you're going in the car. So this is a Yeti one. If you're going in the car and running errands in the summer and you fill it with ice water at the beginning, the water will still be cold because it's insulated for a really long time. And normally I like room temperature beverages. I don't like car hot water. And so it's really handy for like the beach and things like that. And so, yeah, which again, like not sponsored, or anything. I'm just using that. Oh my goodness. Oh, okay. You know what I need to make sure I remember? And this is a beef I have with YouTube. When the stream is over, YouTube will take a few hours and it'll still be available to watch on demand, but YouTube's going to take a few hours to process it. And during that, at some point, they insert mid-roll ads. And they insert them on the live stream replays, like every, more, sometimes like some that are a minute apart. And so I'll go through and delete like 90% of the mid-rolls, leaving them to be every like 30 minutes in a live stream, maybe 15 minutes, thinking about like a commercial break on TV. Like maybe that's reasonable. And so if you ever find and are watching an old live stream and you are interrupted by so many ads, please comment, because if I see the comment, I will go through and remove them. Because on standard videos that I upload, I usually can go through and delete and remove most of them. But it just amazes me that they'll insert like 30 mid-rolls on like a 2-hour video.
And that just seems excessive and extreme. And there is not a setting that lets me say, hey, insert it at this frequency. Because I do want there to be some, because this is how I can be silly like this and use the materials and whatnot. And yeah, so please let me know. And sometimes people are like, oh, I feel really bad saying this, but this is basically unwatchable with all of the ads. And I'm like, no, please say that, because then I can go and change it. And like if I have a video that's under 10 minutes, I will remove, I will say not to insert ads in it. And yeah, it just boggles my mind, because I was like, I think two people have brought this to my attention, and so I've been able to go back and change that. But then I forget, and especially because it takes YouTube a couple hours to process it. Like if I could go through as soon as I finish a stream and change that, then that would be great. But I'll have to check later this evening. So I'm really going to need to remember to do that, because I don't want ads to be annoying. So. Yeah, that is something that was really, really frustrating for me to find. Um, but, some ads being in there, like, streaming's a lot of work. But, yeah, I've never tried streaming anything besides yarn dyeing. I'm really good at talking and filling space, but you can tell how much I'm focused when I'm streaming and doing a yarn dyeing project by just how like intently I am watching. Like if I stop talking, I'm really, really focused. Oh man, but it's so fun. Like none of these projects today will be an episode of Dye Pot Weekly, because I'm not. Sometimes I'll do that in a live stream. I'll work on content that will later be edited. So this content will go and become short form stuff at some point, because I'm getting some footage for it. And it's really fun if I just want to make like a short or something for social media, to do that in a live stream, because I get to hang out with you and you get to see more of like, this is what like a day in the life of me is like. Of course, I'll be honest, if I were just dyeing these projects and not streaming, in between them, I would probably go, and I've been watching lately the show that I've been watching when, excuse me, the show I've been watching while like I do a time lapse and stuff is One Tree Hill. I've been rewatching that, and so I'd probably be watching that. Or, and I've been very bad, but Keith finally convinced me to download Steam, to make a Steam account, and he got me playing Factorio, which is it's sort of like a factory simulator game, and I resisted buying that game for a very long time because I knew I would like it. And in the last, I guess I've started playing about 2 weeks ago, and I've probably put 80 hours into the game so far. And that's very embarrassing. I've not edited anything all week. And I need to start setting limits. But the problem is I play on the same computer where I work. And so sometimes if there's like a moment and I'm waiting, then I would just go into my factory. So while I'm streaming, because Sherry said that they use ads as potty breaks or coffee breaks. Sometimes like, yeah, a break, that's when like I'll insert one when I'm actually streaming. But of course YouTube doesn't save where I might insert them when I'm live, because I turn off during the stream to let YouTube insert mid-rolls, because I'd hate for a mid-roll ad to show up right when I'm doing, like there's moments when things are exciting and I wouldn't want an ad to show up then. So I insert an ad when I need to go take care of the dog, or I'm running upstairs to grab yarn or something like that, right? And so, but that's not what they do with the replays. Rick has been dyeing along with me all morning with orange soda. Oh, that's so fun. Speaking of food coloring as an entry-level dyeing process, we started by using orange soda from a video we saw from before we discovered my videos. Ah, because do I have an orange soda video? I might. I do. I do. Oh, resist dyeing yarn with orange Fanta, and can you dye yarn with Coke Zero? It's funny because I think the Coke Zero one was because there's no food coloring in it, but I think people were curious if it would work, and so I'm like, okay, we'll try. But I wonder, the orange Fanta, that may have been around when I had the Kickstarter going, and Hawaiian Punch. You know what I did? So my Kickstarter hit the goal in 24 hours, and that was really, really exciting. I'm gonna go dip dye in a second, but I'm gonna, oh, I don't want updates. Campaign. Let's see. There we go. Oh, my Kickstarter. And I even got, like, they named it as Projects We Love. That was exciting. But I hit the goal in the first 24 hours. My goal was only $1,000, mainly because I did a whole, oh, I was so proud of all of this. I did a whole pie chart of like what it would cost to give the rewards that I was offering, the Kickstarter fees, and to get the equipment. And really this was so I could buy the equipment and the dyes, because I wanted to know a few things. I wanted to know if like people wanted me to make more videos and start posting videos regularly, and if they wanted to see this journey, and people did. And some of you watching are some of the people that have supported me in like all these years, and it means so, so much. And so then when I was about to hit the goal, like within, because I think I launched in like the evening maybe, and so it was before I hit the 24-hour mark, I was like, okay, it looks like we're doing this. So I went to the supermarket and I think that's when I got like I got all the Gatorade colors, and I just went shopping through the grocery store looking at it as a food coloring palette and picked out a ton of stuff. Oh man. Oh, I remember dyeing some of these. That was a violet one. This is a violet one. Oh, so long ago. Okay.
I've come so far. Yeah, cola does not work. Does Twitch just randomly insert them? Yes, I guess I've found that too. But see, I don't think I could be ever. I have huge respect to people who stream video games. But all right, I'll talk about that more as we start. But in this pot, I have 16 cups of water. She was only covered because I wanted to keep the water volume. I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of white vinegar. I want to get the yarn ready to go, because here's the thing with Red 3 and our violet icing color. Red 3, when combined with acid, will start crashing out of solution, which means that it's not soluble. It'll become a solid that'll stick to the edge of the pot. And so you want to add the yarn to the dye bath as fast as possible after you've added the dye. And then you can go slow with the rest of it. So the yarn I'm going to use now is Wool of the Andes worsted weight yarn. It's 100% Peruvian Highland wool. I have a feeling my arms are going to get tired, but it should be okay. All right, so we are going to bring over, we're using Wilton's Violet. We're going to bring over the violet icing color, which most of it's in there. Oh no. Drop ended up on the floor. We're going to stir and then bring over our yarn. And I can already see a pink ring happening on the pot. And as I dip the yarn in and raise it, I will pulse it a little bit and raise and lower so that way you don't get a line. But as you add the yarn in, you can see that we're getting a little bit more blue, just briefly. But then as you raise the yarn up, that blue almost disappears. And the reason is that with this non-superwash yarn, screenshot, Rebecca. With this non-superwash yarn, the blues are not going to strike to the yarn at this pH. At least they'll strike really, really slowly. And so if this were superwash yarn, then they would strike more. But we're going to be able to get some really bright blues in the end here because we're waiting. And what we're waiting for is for the dye bath to be very, very blue. And see, it's very blue right now when I lift it up, but I'm waiting for most of those pinks to be gone. And if this was superwash yarn, I'd want to be fast at this stage because you could end up with like a pastel blue at the end. But I think we're gonna about call it. And pop that in. And there we go. Broken Wilton's Violet. And one other thing I think could be fun to show is that on paper towel, if I bring over the food coloring and you put it on, maybe that wasn't wet enough. Okay, fine. That didn't work. Fine, that didn't work the way I wanted it to. I mean, you can see on here that it's spread. Now, the reason why you can sometimes see, set a timer for 30 minutes for that. The reason why you can kind of see colors separate on paper towels is because since the dyes aren't binding to the yarn, the pigments are very likely being separated by size. And I think red 3 is a very big molecule. Now, my spoon here, this metal spoon, is stained pink, visibly. And the pot is going to be stained pink. Now, a lot of this will come off with soap and water and a bit of scrubbing. But red 3 will stick to just about anything. And it crushing out a solution and being like on the edge of the pot too is a reason why I also feel the obligation to say, okay, only use red 3 with dedicated dye equipment now. Even though it's sad and we left a lot of dye behind there. Now you could have taken the time, I could have taken the time to like rinse this out, but it is what it is. We don't want you to spill on a computer. you know what I wanted to wash? I wanted to wash the spoon. Okay, so the spoon I washed with just water, and there's still pink on it. So coming over with a paper towel, that pink that is sort of collected on it because it kind of came out of solution, you can visibly see the pink. So it's just worth keeping in mind. And so sometimes with the dip dyeing, you can check on the color to see how it's doing. This is actually going to take a while to absorb. And actually, the thing I forgot that I like to do is that at this stage, I like to add more acid. And the reason for adding more acid is so that way those blues can strike. Because the red 3 needs very little acid. The pH can be a lot higher for the red 3s to bind to the non-superwash yarn. Blues need more heat, time, and acid. So the difference between the two is more extreme on the... I was going to sit down, but then I realized instead I will come over and show some of the other stuff we dyed. The difference is way more extreme on non-superwash than it is on superwash that we had dyed here, which is only a little bit warm now. Oh my, that's not what I wanted to be doing. But you can see over here that this blue at the top is less vibrant than the blue in the other container. But the dye bath here is now completely clear, just from having sat with hot water. And we got broken violet there too. Now, this has had, it's still warm heat for over an hour because I added like near boiling water into this at first. I don't feel a need to steam set this or heat set it in any other way because it had heat for a prolonged period of time. This yarn, however, which really started, actually it's pretty much cleared. This did not have very hot water, and over the length of the day, we got this super vibrant pink. And this was just 7 drops of the base pink food coloring, which is only red number 3. So I suppose if you make that even more concentrated, then it could start to feel red. But it's funny when it's called a red because, I mean, I know that the name of the color is red 3, but it's funny for me when it's called a red because I think of it as a pink, as a very bright pink. Oh, Melissa, don't worry. I'm not going to throw away that dye. I'll use it for something, probably. I haven't decided what I'll do with it. I'm surprised, too. There's definitely enough to make, like, something else. Which we could do something now. I'm debating. Because the only reason why I'm debating is because I'm starting to get tired. So what I might do is put this in a plastic container with a lid on it and save it for another day to leave no dye behind. Or even though I have at least 10 unopened vials of Wilton's Violet. So this is not the last stream I will be ever using of Wilton's Violet food coloring. And if you're just tuning in, due to the red 3 ban, the FDA banned red number 3
for use in food and beverage in the United States about a week ago. I no longer will be recommending that you can use red 3, food colorings with red 3 as a food safe dye because it is no longer FDA approved for use in food. And so therefore, I'm still going to dye yarn with it. I'm just going to treat it more like I would any other commercial dye, using only dedicated dyeing equipment and things like that. Now, the other 4 food coloring molecules that are found more frequently, red 40, yellow 5, yellow 6, blue 1, those ones I would still be comfortable using them in cooking pots and pans, using them in my microwave, on dishes that I use for cooking. I would be comfortable dyeing yarn with that with food things. However, red 3 is in a lot of the other food colorings that I have, and so this stash of food coloring is all, I guess, dedicated for dyeing yarn now. Diamond asked, have you thought about dyeing with Nerds candy? I have. I think that there was a live stream I did the day after Halloween many years ago where I dyed yarn with a lot of candy, and among that, I'm sure Nerds was part of that. I think I just never had enough, a big box of Nerds to dye candy with just that. But I think Nerds doesn't have wax in it, so Nerds would work well. Yeah, chalky candies work well. So Sweet Tarts and stuff, those I've had good results with. What else works really well? I forget, but yeah, I think it's, as Tuesday's video will show you, it's important to check the ingredients if you want to know if what you're grabbing can dye yarn. And I think that we're going to be moving to a lot more natural product-based food coloring, which isn't the end of the world. If you're going to color a fruit punch with vegetable juice, I don't have a huge problem with that. It would just be nice to know more than just vegetable juice on the ingredients list. So then you have a heads up, is it beets that's being used? Because there can be a side effect from beets that I think is important for people to be aware of. A frightening surprise that could happen later if it's there's a lot of pigment from beets in there. Yeah, hard candies would work well as long as it's not something I don't know if I've done Jolly Ranchers. Let's see. Oh, you can see the Dye Yarn with Candy playlist. The thumbnail shows what I dyed with some of those candy hearts. And here is leftover Sweet Tarts candy, a lot of it. Candy canes worked. Cotton candy worked surprisingly well. Oh yeah, this is the leftover Candyland yarn. A lot of Sweet Tarts. Yeah, hey, with that live one, there's Nerds in there. Yeah, I guess not specifically. Oh, I did dye roving with Skittles once, because that was a Paradise Fibers thing. Fused Twizzlers together to try to knit with them. That was my attempt to make a viral video. Pixie sticks would work for sure. Another thing that works well are sprinkles, but you want the sugar sprinkles, the non-Perels, those little spherical balls. Those don't dissolve well, and so that's another one where I've ended up picking out little bits of candy from the yarn, which is possible that I didn't like soak it, and so I think they maybe would dissolve eventually, but that one was a bit of a pain back in the day. But yeah, oh man, there were things like I've tried a lot of things that failed over the years. Like I had a second blog called like it was KPOTD, Knitting Project of the Day. And so every day I had a post of like, sometimes it'd be like a scientific article that had to do something with knitting, or I'd find like an interesting picture or something, but that never took off. I even had like a forum where people could submit things. Yeah, I tried. I kept it going for like well over a year, and then I was like, okay, I should stop. It was like before, I don't know if that was before like before I had like Instagram or anything and to do any kind of like feed. Oh my gosh. Like the things past Rebecca did. But yeah. Oh man. Hey, the pot is getting steamy now. Let's go see how we're doing.
Nope. Ugh. Oof. Oh man. The nice thing is that's staying nice and blue. Okay, it's disappearing slowly. There's blue in there, but it's gonna take time. It's gonna take time. And meanwhile, our candy is looking good. It's still dissolving though, actually. And I mean, I know you can't see because it's hot. I'm not gonna bring it over, but I'm helping the last bits of like foam candy to dissolve on there, or I'm like adding it to the yarn because there's some bits where it sort of like foamed up and was on the surface. But sometimes like those pastel candies, like they pack a punch. And so I think that this is another reason why ultimately the FDA ban
like doesn't bother me that much because like artificial food coloring has no nutritional value. And yeah, so therefore I'm like, I know there's a lot of people that are really upset, and I think for like bakers and stuff, but like ultimately I've seen the writing on the walls and I knew that I didn't know if the FDA would do it, but I knew that people were not wanting artificial food coloring more and more. And so I was like, I knew that there was going to be a day where I wouldn't be able to get Wilton's Violet food coloring anymore. Oh, cool. I cannot pronounce that word. In the chat, they're talking about like what chemicals are in beets, but I was like, I can't pronounce it, so I'm not going to try to say it. I mean, I love eating beets, and a lot of our sugar that we use is from beets, and so using like other parts of the like plant and stuff like that's fine. Um, I mean, I think that it's also fine for food to not be colored anymore. Like, it's okay if, like, it's okay for strawberry rhubarb sauce to not be like super bright red if, because it's still a pretty red from the strawberries. And so I think that, like, even though, like, I showed some of these, like, really pigmented cakes and things I've made, like, yeah, I think that it'll be okay. But my bummer over the whole ban is basically because I got my start, or the thing that people knew me for at first was the Breaking Wilton's Violet. Because the color change is so pleasing to watch and is so extreme. And so the loss of that pink pigment is going to mean that purples are all going to look a lot more like grape Kool-Aid, which is a beautiful color. It's just not Do I have the image on my computer? Color mixing. I believe I do. I need to make you smaller. Yeah, I'll put you there. In between those. Yeah, like the colors, you can see how immediately muted the colors are when you mix red 40 and blue 1, how they go just really dark. And so the outside of that triangle is so bright when you mix the colors with the yellow, but then the bottom is very deep. Whereas if the twisted skeins up in the corner, if you look closer there and you see the inside of the triangle is that those inner 3 colors that have a little bit of all 3, those are more muted, but you otherwise get brights all the way around if you mix them. And that was a color thing that took me a while to learn. And so by losing red 3, we're losing that ability to mix those bright purples. Now you could use less of the red 40 with the blue, but it's still not going to give you a bright purple. It's just going to take you something more muted. Because the second color, which I don't think I can show you with the mouse, so where the word blue number 1 is, immediately to the left of that, there is a like almost navy blue, and that would be 3 parts blue 1, 1 part red 40, with an asterisk. Because this is at the strength that those colors are in the Wilton color right system. And so that's the number. It was like 1 drop of blue, 3 drops of, 3 drops of blue, 1 drop of red. So that was the ratio of those colors to get that. And so we don't know concentration wise how much of the colors are in there. And so we can't give otherwise like a better ratio there. But yeah, I do like though, consistency wise, if you look at the twisted skeins between the yellow and the blue, and then the untwisted, just sort of the flat, like in a circle skeins from the second project, the yellow to the blue, those colors match up really well, which means we had really good consistency with the dropper and the drop size. Yeah. So, you know, the colors that can be mixed easily, you can still get a purple. And I think that especially if you're going to go, if you're going to try, if you're avoiding purples, basically, you still have a lot of control and brightness and things that you can create with regard to oranges and greens. It's just, yeah, it's the purple that suffers, which it's always the purple that suffers for whatever reason. It was like trying to find decorative textiles that were predominantly purple based was really, really hard, surprisingly. Because there were a lot of textiles that had like a very wine color, but not a lot that had violet. And that was really hard. Really, really hard. But anyway, I know I've done a lot of blabbing and meandering back through memory lane and talking about the band, but we've dyed a few different things. You know, those candy hearts have red 3 in them too. And so a lot of different things that, you know, eventually aren't going to be possible in the way that they exist today. But you can still create a lot of beautiful colors with commercial dyes. It's just, I know from experience the hurdle that it took mentally for me to transition from dyeing yarn with food coloring in my kitchen to dyeing yarn with commercial dyes also in my kitchen, but feeling confident in my abilities there. And yeah, and just doing the transition because, you know, reading about like, okay, wearing the mask, I was like very nervous, but I will say in all the times I have been wearing the respirator mask, the rubber one, like, you know, I'll wipe down like the inside and the outside, the rubber parts. The filters can change. Yeah, I'll change periodically. But I was really impressed that there's usually like maybe once there was like some pigment on there. Otherwise, there's been no pigment on the mask. So by being careful and thoughtful with the colors, even when like speckling and stuff, they're gonna fall down versus fall up. And so that made me feel more comfortable using them at home. Now, if you are more exuberant maybe with your color use, then yeah, but knocking on wood, like I have not stained my floor. I have not had a major spill. And some of this could be some of my lab training, maybe, but I don't know. Uh, but yeah, I would love a dedicated dyeing space, mainly because then I could worry, like, I would still try to be really safe, but I'd worry a little bit less about, I worry about staining my kitchen. And especially if, like, there's things about our kitchen that, like, we need, in theory, to redo our kitchen. But there are a few things keeping me from doing that. One, the cost, because we need to move some of the plumbing, because we have plumbing in an exterior wall, which freezes, and if we're redoing the kitchen, we need to mitigate that. Which, yeah, I don't think we could afford to do any of that. Two, being without a kitchen for a long period of time would be challenging for many reasons. Also the like professional aspect, if I can't dye in my kitchen, I mean, I could get like a hot plate and I can do things, but having work done in the house would be hard. But then also, if we have a brand new kitchen, I may not want to use it for dyeing yarn because I may want to keep it in like, I don't know, nicer. So like, and maybe I'd have to get different equipment and like, it's like a someday problem. Just like it's a someday like, oh, like what would we do? And I don't know. It was like when talking about like if Keith goes on sabbatical, like if the kids and I would go with him, and like, yeah, it would be cool to pull the kids from school for 6 months or a year and take them somewhere else to like experience somewhere else. But I cannot pick up and move like my shop to another country or like across the country. Like that's not very feasible. And so for me, I'm like, well, I'm a bit of a homebody anyway, but it's like I would, be like solo parenting for like weeks at a time if that's what was required for you to have an opportunity. But I was like, I don't think I could do a sabbatical myself. But that's not going to come up for like many, many years again. So, yeah. But anyway, I think I'm going to head out. Thank you all so, so much for joining me today. This has been so much fun. And yeah, I mean, I think that we can be sad that Red 3 is going away, but also there's a chance that at some point there could be a lot of stuff on clearance. There could be opportunities to like, you can still dye yarn with it, right? And so that's a great way to use up red number 3 that you have in your homes. So anyway, thanks again for joining, and subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a new video. I post at least twice a week, and as I've shown, I like to dye yarn with all kinds of things, and we have a lot of fun over here. Oh my goodness, there I am. I was like, where is my stream? Oh yeah, trying to think if there's anything. Oh, Valentine's Day yarn. Pinned comment, top of the description. It's a mystery Valentine's Day themed colorway that I will ship to you with a handmade, hand-signed Valentine's Day card, a Valentine's themed stitch marker, and it'll be wrapped so you can unwrap. So that way, you still can get a surprise for Valentine's Day. And, sent with crafty love and hugs. Or if you want to wait, I typically will have the Valentine's Day colorway available as a dyed to order listing for a limited time. There may still be some that's ready to ship on Valentine's Day, but I will also open up some more skeins, so that way I can dye some more of the colorway if you'd prefer to have it on not a mystery basis. But yeah, it's a good way to support the channel too. And the colorway is so fun. If you've already pre-ordered it, I should be shipping it early next week, I believe. I want to edit the video and then I can ship out the yarn. I just have to, everything's twisted. It's all dry and twisted. I just need to put on the labels and then start wrapping things. But yeah, it's my pleasure to keep you guys company. All right, everyone. See you later.